Today I'm pleased to be joined by someone who's been on Team Corrie for over 7 years, but has only recently been taken off the subs bench to be a main player in a steamy new story with Tracy McDonald. There's only one Tommy Orpington, and he's here with me today, actor Matt Milburn. Matt, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
It's been like, yeah, 7.5 years, hasn't it, that you've been on the programme sporadically. So
Yeah,
how are you enjoying getting a chance to have a story of your own at last?
yeah. It's been a long time coming, Michael. If I'm honest, to be honest, it was only recently when I came back for this particular stint that I realised that it was 2016 that I first started coming in and out. So that was a little bit of a shock to the system, really. But yeah, I'm just really thankful. I've been wanting for a long time to come and show what I can do, sort of over a more prolonged period of time, something to get my teeth into. So when I got the phone call regarding this particular storyline, I was obviously over the moon, and yeah, really enjoying it so far.
How did they break the news to you that they wanted you back in like a proper story?
They phoned my agent. I think. I mean, there was talk a few years back, just before COVID, that I was potentially going to come and do a little bit more than the usual sort of 4 or 5 episodes here and there.
Hmm.
And then obviously COVID just ruined everyone's lives. So it was sort of put on the back burner, I think. And to be honest, then I think it's probably a couple of years past since then. And then, yeah, it was just a phone call to my agent. My agent phoned me and she said, would you be up for it? I was like, yeah, of course I will. Of course I would be. And then I had a chat with Ian McLeod myself, and he sort of gave me the premise of the storyline and what was going to be happening. And I was thankful to be coming in and creating a stir. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think of the story pitch? Like a steamy fling with Tracy McDonald, one of Corrie's most legendary femme fatale. I mean, you must have been pretty pleased with that.
Exactly. It doesn't really get much better, really, does it? I mean, playing a football in the first place is great for me because I'm a mad football fan
Oh, yeah.
myself. And if you can't make it as a professional footballer, you may as well sort of play one as an actor being one. So yeah, and obviously Tracy being quite an iconic character and one of the legends of the soap, and she's been in it for such a long time, and she's not too unaccustomed to creating her own stirs. So yeah, I just thought perfect. It's going to be a lot of fun, and couldn't wait to start. Really,
Yeah. How have you enjoyed working with Kate Ford?
it's been brilliant. Kate's been great. I think I think she was sort of due a storyline herself to get her teeth into. I think it's
Mm.
been a little while
Yeah.
since Tracy's, um, had something, a bit meaty. So yeah, she was quite thankful as well. It was funny because we're both, we're obviously a little bit older, but not complete kids, and you sort of thrown together quite literally into this sort of steamy affair. So we both sort of helped each other through it, and yeah, it's just been loads of fun. Yeah, that's the best word for it, really.
Cool. And it's given you the opportunity to have more scenes with Simon Gregson and Joe Dettine as well, Steve and Tim. Are they as much fun to work with in real life as they seem on screen?
Yes, yes is the answer. They're a nightmare in a lot of ways because obviously I'm the sort of straight guy within these scenes, and yeah, they're great professionals. They've been there a long time, but you can tell that they're still really appreciative of the job. They love going to work, and they're both real natural, funny fellas. So you sort of get the scripts, and they read funny, but then obviously they then put their little bit of sauce on top at the same time, which I've got to be on my toes for. There's little ad libs here or there, or maybe little bits of physicality that they'll throw in, and so yeah, you got to be on your toes. But yeah, it's mega fun, and it's like I say, the hardest part is keeping a straight face at the right times.
Yeah, I bet. I
Yeah,
bet. Did they like try to make you laugh on purpose? Have they been testing you?
I think I don't know. I wouldn't say sort of testing me on purpose to try and sort of throw me, but it's kind of a compliment that they like. Joe in particular, he's done sorts of. There was one on telly the other night where he sort of walks past me in the doorway and he sort of gives me a few digs in the stomach on his way out. Like jovial digs. I didn't know they were coming. But the more of those that they do, and like I say, it's nice to know that they can trust me to actually do it in the first place. I think if they thought it might throw me too much, or I'd possibly take it in the wrong way, then they wouldn't bother or not do it at all. So yeah, I'd take anything like that as a compliment, and more the better.
So at the moment, of course, on Corrie, Tommy's getting all this adulation from some of the guys on the street team, Steve and Tim,
Yeah,
Kevin, that
yeah,
lot, being the
yeah.
local celebrity. So since the story started airing, have you been getting a bit of a taste of that in real life from members of the public who recognise you?
It's starting to get there now. It's funny. I think this last sort of weekend, I'm socialising with some friends this weekend, and it's like the first sort of time it's happened. There was a couple of lads and singing, "Oh, Tommy!" Like it's big, it's me, And it was a couple of, because it's not obviously, when you're on the sort of show as big as Corrie, it's going to happen. People are going to sort of maybe say hello, which is lovely, but like you rightly said, this character is he's got his own football songs that surround him. So I'm braced for it happening a bit more. It's just starting to kick in now, but it's just a bit of fun, and it's I welcome it, I think.
Yeah. How have you kind of found the reaction to the story in general? Have you been happy with people's reaction to the new fleshed out Tommy, for example?
Yeah, you know what? I've been really chuffed. I'm not. It's one of them. It's tough. It's tough to know whether to read sort of. I think probably the best gauge is social media. I'm not a massive sort of social media person, but obviously it's the go-to what do you call it, genre or whatever for people to pass comment and make a judgment. You're not going to sort of read it in the papers or on TV. So yeah, social media is where you see a lot of people's views. But yeah, I'm so chuffed because the vast majority that I've read, and I've not read a lot. I'll read more in the early stages, really, just to get a gauge for myself, and I suppose it does your own self confidence a little bit good as well when you're reading positivity. And yeah, it's been really positive. A lot of people have sort of said, a few comments like a breath of fresh air, and yeah, it's nice to see you being given a bigger chance, and it's been really positive. Yeah, I'm absolutely chuffed to bits. Yeah, so touch wood that continues and I don't mess it up. But yeah, it's been good. So it's been good. What do you think, Michael? What do you think?
I have been very pleasantly surprised when I heard that they were bringing Tommy Orpington back for a big story. I thought, oh, that's an interesting move. I thought we'd seen the last of him, especially because it looked like he was. I think the last time you were on, were you hanging around with Corey Brent? Was it that hotel scene?
Yeah, it was a funny one. It was as an actor and somebody really wanted to be given a chunk on the show. I sort of read that and I was like, oh God, well this is the end then.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
sort of
So I thought,
back
okay,
in a baddie.
thought that's interesting. They're making him a baddie, but I've been absolutely loving it. You
Oh, brilliant!
honestly, and I'm not just saying that because I'm chatting with you. I was watching it. I really, really enjoy what they've done with the character of Tommy.
I love that.
It is a breath
Yeah.
of fresh air. In 2024, it's one of the fresh news stories for the year, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm loving it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because like you, I when I filmed the last scenes that did involve Corey, and obviously he was a villain, but I think it was just written with just enough of a sort of get out from Tommy's point of view, that he was there as a sort of character witness purely from a sort of football point of view, as opposed to knowing this lad inside out and therefore backing him as a guarantor for his personality per se. So I was pretty thankful for that. So yeah, I mean, now he's coming in, he's obviously causing a stir in a different way, but I mean, that's just a different side to the personality. But yeah, it's I'm pleased so far. Yeah, it seems to be getting a good response.
Yeah. Do you think you don't think that Tommy's going to end up being a villain or being considered a villain at the end because of breaking up the McDonald's marriage potentially? Or is he just more of a lovable rogue?
I'd like to think that he's a bit more of a lovable rogue. I mean, I would never say never, because as an actor, it's nice to get to the chance to sort of play the whole realm of emotions, whether that's being a bit of a villain or showing a bit of a nasty side or what. In terms of longevity, obviously, it probably helps me that if he is a bit more of a lovable rogue. But I think genuinely, it does veer towards that. I think he's not sort of been great in relationships. He sort of admitted himself that he's he'd been unfaithful in the past, but then at the same time, he said he wasn't particularly happy within his marriage. I think it's a kind of personality a lot of people can relate to in some senses. You know, there's rights and wrongs to him, but I don't think he's sort of inherently sort of bad, and he's
No,
not really purposefully meaning to hurt anybody.
no, I think you're right. And sometimes you can tell with when a villain is supposed to be a villain on Corrie or any
Yeah,
soap really. They're kind of they give the looks, don't they? Or the
yeah, exactly.
swirlings. And we've not had that with Tommy. He's just been kind of carried along.
No,
It's almost been Tracy that's been driving it, hasn't it?
well, that's exactly that. You know, and you know, he's shown a bit humor, a bit of compassion here and there, and yeah, I think I think that there has been actual dialogue where he's saying he's not wanted to hurt Steve or wanting for anyone to be sort of affected badly by his actions, albeit they're probably not the right ones. But yeah, lovable rogue will go with Michael.
It's a proud Corrie tradition. I mean, there's always a rogue
Yeah,
like character on the street, isn't there?
yeah, a little bit of the Fario. Yeah,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Like then,
You
yeah,
said you were talking earlier about how they fleshed out his character a bit and given him the story with his wife that he's now left. And did
yeah.
you had a story in your head before all this about what Tommy was like as a character? Because
Do you,
we knew so little about him apart from he was the footballer.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it wasn't too far short of what in my mind. I mean, I know it was sort of only coming into for excuse me, for dribs and drabs. Um, but yeah, I think the backstory I kind of created without actually having one wasn't too dissimilar to the one that I received before this bigger chunk. It always helps because it helps you sort of flesh it out when you're playing a role and fatten out the character's background. It sort of gives you more impetus in whatever scenes you're playing. So yeah, but I think it was very similar. Potentially not great in long-term relationships, although he was sort of married. But then at the same time, someone who doesn't sort of walk through life trampling all over people deliberately at the same time. So yeah, it probably did match up with how I was sort of perceiving it before I actually got the proper info.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Bit of a ladies' man. Do you
Yeah.
do you think I know he said that he's only wanted a bit on the side. He doesn't want this full-blown affair with Tracy, but do you think if she were to ask him to like run away with her, could he be convinced?
Potentially. You know what? I think he's the kind of guy that literally lives every day. So I don't think he sort of has huge long-term plans. There was a line that he said recently, sort of like, "We're not swans, we're not supposed to mate for life." So I think it's sort of that. I think that relates to his probable view on long-term relationships. But then at the same time, I don't think he's someone who never says never. So I literally think, which again is really beneficial for me from an acting point of view, because I think anything could happen. It's like he's quite a sort of broad character in terms of being able to write for, hopefully, without trying to curse it too much. But he's, if yeah, it's like one of those. I think the world's his oyster, and I think he'd probably jump on most boats. So it's yeah.
I think maybe if he were to find out about the sticky end that some of Tracy's other exes came to, he might have a bit of a second thought.
Yeah, you mentioned that. It's funny. A few people have said that. Does he know which is he barking up the wrong tree here, and he doesn't really know? And I'm not sure at this point. And I think we've got to assume that he potentially doesn't know the sort of the finer details of Tracy's background. Because if he did, he might be treading a bit more carefully. But yeah, it's that's again, it's yet to be explored, I think.
Do you think that ultimately, though, the McDonald's marriage can survive this affair? I mean, people have started to find out now. Do you reckon
Yeah.
they're enough to stick together?
Well, I think it's been up and down for them for goodness how long. I wouldn't say that it's incapable of surviving it. It probably could, because I think that kind of a pair between them where they seem to allow each other wrongdoings, and then they're also pretty forgiving at the same time. So yeah, I mean, it potentially could. So if it was to turn that way, then there's every chance they could patch it up, I don't suppose.
And what about Tommy's reputation? I mean, could this finally be what it takes to break the spell that you are having over Steve and Tim?
Well, you'd like to think so if they had anything about them. If it was me, then the idolisation had been gone by now. But football's a strong thing, Michael. You never know. The loyalty could potentially sort of still override any sort of feelings of animosity. But I think you'd have to say that surely they can't sort of keep looking at him with this vein after this. You'd like to think not.
Yeah, I mean, you're so many weeks ahead of us in your filming, but I just can't wait to see. Like, is Steve going to be conflicted? Like, on the one hand, my wife's having an affair, but on the other hand, it is with Tommy Orpington.
I know. That's what so many people have said. It's like, look, this is really bad, but yeah, exactly. We'll see. We'll have to see on that one. Just what he thinks of it, I reckon.
Well, if it doesn't work out with Tracy in the end, you've also got Toyo waiting on the sidelines, haven't you? Potentially.
Well, yeah. I mean, Tracy did her best to ruin that at the same time. But I mean, there's been she definitely sort of has mentioned that she could potentially be interested. So that's another angle.
Yeah, and another woman who bumped off her husband. So you just
I know.
you're attracting wrong uns.
Yeah, exactly. He's not. He's bearing in mind he came from a relationship with his wife that. From in his words, he says that she was a bit of a wrong one as well. So maybe that's just his penchant. Yeah, could be interesting though. Toyo and Tracy don't particularly get on either, so there could be some fireworks there as well.
I wanted to talk a bit about some of Tommy's earlier appearances on the street. Do you have any particular scenes from your first 7 years or so on the show that have particularly stood out to you?
You know what? I really enjoyed actually sort of being in the studio in the Rovers. I think being in the Rovers for the first time was sort of such a mega moment. I mean, obviously, it's such an iconic set and place to be. And I think when you've grown up watching it, as I have, and our family have always been big fans of it. My mum's still a massive Corrie fan, whether I was in it or not, whether my brother was in it or not, she'd watch. So it was to be in the Rovers. Especially with like you mentioned earlier, with the characters and who I've always viewed as real strong characters, like Steve and Tim, and top actors in their own right. It was just, I think that really stood out, and I thought to myself, yeah, this is a place where I wanted to be. So I think that was probably one of the strongest, was being in the Rovers for the first time, I think.
But were you also involved in the James storyline and the homosexuality in football story? Am I remembering right that Tommy was kind of standing up for him for that?
Yeah, he was.
That must have been quite important.
It was. That was nice in a sense that it gave. I think when we were talking about Tommy's character and background, I think that said a lot about him. For whatever you might think about him with his misgivings, maybe when it comes to women and relationships. When it came to an issue such as that, he had a real firm stance on it. He backed James, and he backed James to rightly so, and stood up for him and made sure that he was an ear for him and somebody to talk to. And that I think that said a lot about his real sort of deep understanding of feeling, which is good, which was positive as well, especially in front of his teammates. And he said, I think it was along the lines of, if any of them give you any jip, then they've got me to answer to. So I think that showed a side to him that was really strong, and it was strong in the right way. So like you say, there's been a couple of scenes there in the past, and albeit sort of been fleeting visits, there's quite memorable at the same time.
So something I really enjoyed seeing on social media a few weeks ago. So those pictures of you visiting the old Corrie in 1999. I need to talk. So Corrie has always been big in your family, has it? Your mum dragged in 1989.
Yeah, that was. It was funny because when I realised that I was coming in for this storyline. It purely coincided with the mum going through the loft and finding, as we all do occasionally, sort of going through old photos and having a little bit of condensing and what have you. And then I got the phone call saying that I was going to be coming back, and she said, "Oh, how funny! I've just been clearing up. I've just found these." It wasn't like she'd rooted through for them specifically for. It was just like it must have been one of those little lovely terms of fate. And I was like, "God, what is that?" And luckily, she'd written on the date, 1989, and it was just yeah. I'm not sure we were dragged. I think we were quite enjoying it. Back in the day, the Granada Studios tour is quite, it was a real sort of, I wouldn't say it's Alton Towers or anything, as regards sort of thrill rides like that. But it was a real eye opener and something really different to do.
It
And
was because I went. I don't know when it was. I think it was a bit after
was
you.
there a ride there, Michael? Did they have a ride? Was it like? Did they have some sort of like?
I don't remember there being a ride. I remember there being a big court that you went into.
Yes, that's right.
There was sooty stuff there.
Yeah.
But no, I don't remember there being a ride. But it was so long ago.
No, you're right. There was a mock setup of like the House of Parliament, and you could sort of pretend as if you're sitting in the speaker's chair and stuff like that. That's right. Yeah, but I remember it just being really fun. Obviously, when you're watching TV when you're growing up, and to actually sort of see some of the mechanics of how things work and the actual sets and the colours, and we went in full shell suits, the whole family.
I wish I still had photos of me there because I was probably also shell suited up. I don't remember. I think I went twice, and I think the first time I was before I started watching Corrie. I think I was a bit young then, but the second time I knew a bit more about it. But that was
it was a lovely thing. And then when the girls in the press office had the idea to sort of recreate some of these pictures standing in the same sort of poses, I was really up for it. I had to first get permission of my brother and sister, and the rest of the family, obviously, to air the shell suit photos, which they happily they said that was fine. So then we did the recreation of the pictures, and everyone really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
first time on the cobbles.
Yeah. Speaking of your family, I suppose a bit of trivia that not everybody knows is that you're real life brothers with Greg Wood, who played Rick Neelan. So did he give you any advice about working on Corrie when you got the role?
Well, it's funny because we've both done Hollyoaks, we've both done Emmerdale, and we've both done Coronation Street. So within this business, a lot of people that sort of work within the soap world can sort of float around from soap to soap, and so it was really lovely sort of seeing some faces that I'd maybe worked with years and years ago on some of the other soaps as well. Greg said to basically enjoy it. He said, it's the best job in the world for us. It's literally, stone's throw from my friends and family, my mum up north. Obviously, I'm based down south, so when I'm up there, I'll stay with her, and just make the most of it and enjoy it. That's pretty much all we ever say to her when you're doing this kind of work, because it's I don't see it as work, to be honest. It's such a privileged position and job to do. I've done real jobs before. It's not like real work. So just enjoy it.
Because he was another character that had just little spots here and there, wasn't he? He was over a decade, I think, maybe.
Oh, is that what he was? I didn't realise that.
I
think you're right. I think
I think quite a long time,
because if you look at some of the pictures that occasionally some of the old press shots and things like that, he looks really young on them. And then sort of when it came to it, him getting bumped off, he was considerably older, should we say? So I think you're right. It's got to be about 10 years, I reckon.
Yeah. And he made a posthumous appearance just a couple of years ago, didn't he? He appeared behind his daughter Kelly's head.
That's right.
As a ghost of Rick Neelan, which was
That's right. The voice of reason. Yeah.
Is it? I think I read somewhere that he was one of the people that inspired you to go into acting. Is that right?
Oh, he really was. Yeah, he absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't even doing acting if it wasn't for him. Because it was like in my early sort of 19, 20 years old, I was still making mind what I wanted to do. I'd sort of gone to college and I'd done you know, BTEC in sports science. Always thought I wanted to be a PE teacher. It was really sports related. Then I went and did A levels. Then I went and then you know, I wanted to do sports journalism. I'd just been accepted to do Preston University, and then my brother has always done acting, and I'd always gone and watch him in his plays and sort of college performances, and you saw the buzz that he got, and the you know, and that sort of adrenaline fueled buzz and feeling. I was like, I've got to try it. I've got to try it. Surely, you know, I just never had the nerve to. And then I'd just been accepted to Preston Uni, and then my brother, he was going to do this. It was like a short film for some of our pals in the basement of Salford University for one of their dissertation pieces.
Yeah.
And just the day before he was due to do it, he got a call saying he was going to go on Brookside, and that was his first sort of big sort of acting job. And then he told the guys that he was originally supposed to do the short film for that I'd fill in without telling me, because he knew that I was going to go, no. And anyway, I'd started the next day, shot this short film, loved it. I was terrible at it, but I thought, this is great. And then it was literally 2 weeks after that, I bizarrely got this audition for Hollyoaks, and that was my first ever professional audition. And then, yeah, that was it. Uni got kiboshed, and I basically cut my cloth on Hollyoaks for 3 years, which was almost like my kind of drama school. Sort of came out of that being a little bit better, but then a few Shakespeare tours after that, and then a bit more telly stuff, and then and then here we are, 20 odd years later.
Yeah. What was it like stepping onto the cobbles for the first time after so long when you got that car? I mean, I know it's different cobbles, isn't it? Because that was in street set, and this is the new one. But was it funny getting back to, you know, to the street after all those years in a way?
Yeah, I think it probably was. It was, you know, there's a sort of feeling that it's a funny old feeling when you step back on there, because it's like you get an immense sense of pride, you know, because it's such a huge show, such a huge history, and it always has had. So I always just feel really honoured when you sort of, I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but it really is. I mean, you know, as far as telework goes, and being a northerner and having grown up with the show, it's to be part of it and know that you know you're a considerable part of it now. Yeah, you just feel proud, and and you also put a bit of pressure on yourself in terms of really wanting to make a good job of it. So yeah, you just have to kind of tame some of those outside feelings, relax, and get on with it. But yeah, it's pride, I think, is the main feeling.
Oh, you must have been. They must have thought you were doing a good job if they kept inviting you back all those times.
Well, yeah, well, people have said that, and it's nice, and yeah, it is lovely. But then you also, but then being the actor and the you know, it's difficult to get over that imposter syndrome sometimes. I'm sort of like one of these actors that sort of, because I know I kind of fell into it, and I never went to drama school. I really have to make this conscious battle with myself to accept that maybe I'm doing all right with it. You know, even now, 40 plus years age, it's still you're still in a fight sometimes. I think this time round, though, I must admit, I felt far more relaxed. And I think just being given the phone call in the first place, saying that, you know, I'm coming in for this, coming into it now, after the smaller stints, is in its own way a sort of pat on the back, and you know, yeah, you've been doing all right. So yeah, I've kind of relaxed, far more relaxed on this stint. So yeah. Yeah, just got to accept that. Yeah, it's maybe things are going well. Yeah.
So you said that you know been watching it throughout your life. Have you got a list of characters that you've been ticking off that you've been having scenes with, and if so, who's still on the list?
Yeah, you know what, I've been quite lucky because I mean, obviously Bill Roach is he's part of the McDonald family, and you know he's Ken Barlow is like one of the, well, he's been in from day dot. When we did the scene with Bill, that was fantastic. You know, I think I was always a huge fan of Patty's character Mary. She's one of my mum's favourites, and I've had some lovely things with her. I've been really lucky already, really. When if you do the scene in the Rovers, you're with sort of a collective of characters that are all strong characters as well. I think I've probably worked with a lot of people that have that I've wanted to. I'm sure I'll sort of get around everybody. But yeah, I mean, still need to do scenes with Carla,
Yeah.
which would be quite nice. You know, I know Ali quite well as well, which is good. So that'd be nice. I think just to work with everyone, Michael, just would be nice, you know. Do as many scenes and as many storylines. Just get around the whole street, really.
So are you gunning for a more permanent role on Corrie then? Or does it suit you more to dip in and out and do other roles?
No, I'd love to stay. I'd love to stay. I'd love to stay and develop it a bit more now. You know, now we've had now I've had this more sizable go. Yeah, it'd be nice to sort of develop it further. 100%. I think sort of, in my opinion, it's sort of just sort of breaking the glass properly now. So it'd be nice to really get right into some. I know this is a really good storyline, but just cross all the emotions. Basically, it would be lovely.
Yeah.
In some capacity. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'd love to stay. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been lovely talking to you.
Oh, I just want to talk to you, Michael.
Yeah, no, it's been really interesting to find about, you know, what makes you tick and about the real Matt Milburn. And yeah, I never thought we'd be having this conversation because you know, Tommy Orpington to me was always just every now and then. And I'm really, really chuffed for you that you've had this chance and that everybody's enjoying it.
Oh, I really appreciate that, Michael. Thanks very much. Yeah, and so am I. Long may it continue. Love to meet you.
Well, lovely speaking to you, as I say. And
Yeah.
thank you very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.